thank you for having us at your meeting to give you a brief update of some of the activities that my firm and Drew's firm have been working on for quite a while now, the last several years. As you know, I'm with Masiello, Martucci, and Calabrese. We are retained by the County of Niagara to work on air base related issues. And a few years ago, the county manager asked me if I would also work with the town of Wheatfield on farmland protection around the base. And I said yes, and we've been working on it ever since, and Drew, of course, is also involved with that. So we wanted to bring you up to date on a number of activities that we and some other organizations have been working on, both within the town of Wheatfield and throughout Niagara County with the base and farmland protection. We're not here tonight to ask for anything. We're just here to update you and to give you an idea of what direction our group is going in. We call ourselves the Wheatfield Working Group. It's made up of Drew, myself, the town supervisor, Richard Muscatella, and Tom Burgasser, the deputy county attorney, will often join us as well. Paul Lehman is involved also. One of the major activities that the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station brought to our attention was the idea of the communities that surround the base to conduct what's called a compatible use plan in conjunction with the base, both to deal with the long-term sustainability of the base and also to deal with issues that might come up in residential communities that surround a military installation. There have been 170 communities that are located around military installations in this country that have done such a plan. The base encouraged the communities that surround the base to reach out and put such a plan together. They're funded by the Office of Economic Adjustment, a federal department that will fund them 100% to conduct such a study. I just recently finished reading the Grissom Air Base Compatible Use Plans, about 170 pages. I will be sending out a two-page summary of that plan to give everyone an idea of what types of issues can be taken up in one of these compatible use plans. We have talked with other communities around the base, and I'm pleased to report at this point there are 6 communities that surround the base. At this point, including yourselves, 5 of those have gone on record with resolutions calling for a compatible use plan. There's one more to go, and I believe that will be taken care of in January. I've talked to the county manager. Once that 6th community is on board, the county manager will be calling a meeting of all 6 communities, their planning officials, and the base officials to begin talking about the logistics and the timing and how you actually go about applying for funds from the federal government to conduct such a plan. We will probably have to go out and hire a consulting firm. It's quite an undertaking. It'll take a while, but the base really encouraged the communities to do this. They said it's a very strong statement to the federal government of community support for the long-term sustainability of the base. So that's where we are on the compatible use plan. I'll turn it over.
I thought, Carl, one of the interesting things I read about the compatible use plan is not only about what the communities can do, it's about what the base can do also to be more compatible with their surrounding uses, right? So it's kind of a both-way thing. My part tonight is just updating you. You know how we got to where we are. You had a comprehensive plan implementation task force committee, and off that spun off some other groups. And this group, the Wheatfield Working Group, kind of combined with what Carl was doing and the agricultural protection group was doing. You know, all the area east of the airport is pretty much industrial, commercial, and residential agricultural. So we've been looking at all different types of tools. This is one tool. As you know, the town also supported, we're working with the Western New York Land Conservancy to possibly look at purchase of development rights in that area of the town. You've been working with them. They've been investigating the PDRs. And what I've always said from day one, and it's in my memo here, is the fact that there's not one tool that's going to work to help this area, you know, succeed and be compatible with the use space and for agricultural to be protected. There's going to be a whole bunch of tools. There's not one thing. If we were lucky enough to get one PDR grant or 2 over the next 10 to 20 years, those are very competitive grants. And by the way, we did talk to farmers. Farmers would be interested in those type of things. But as you see from a memo, there's a lot of other tools. We've looked at even doing a new agricultural zoning district, which would allow agricultural and some commercial operations so they can, farmers can make ends meet. But, so anyway, we're looking at all different tools, and we just wanted to I'll give you this memo, and for us to be here a couple minutes tonight, if you have any questions of us, obviously we want to keep the board up to date as we go and do these things and make sure that you're supportive of those actions that the Wheatfield Working Group is working on. And again, like Carl said, we're working with surrounding communities, the air base itself, NIMAC, the county, everybody's getting involved to say, okay, how can we not only keep a huge asset in Western New York, what is it, $200 million a year, Richard says, to the local economy?
Pretty big. Couple of thousand employees. Yeah.
Right, a couple thousand employees, but also make that part of the town of Wheatfield successful. It's been called out from day one in your comprehensive plan as it's a very important area. You went and adopted an airport protection overlay, which just codified the existing rules and regulations that exist there. So we want to keep that area sound. We have an industrial park that's almost built out, is my understanding at this point. Potential expansions of that, commercial, agricultural land, and open space land. So that's our little presentation.
We want to thank you because the town of Wheatfield, along with the county of Niagara and the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority, contributed some funds. With those funds, we were able to hire the Western New York Land Conservancy, which is now working with 2 farmers that have stepped forward based on a meeting we had last February with Drew, if I recall, about 25 farmers were there.
Yes,
yeah.
About 20.
Where we got their input on what they would like to do, what they wouldn't like to do. 2 of those farmers have stepped forward and are working with the Land Conservancy to have their lands rated for grants that could be used to purchase development rights. Strictly voluntary, and they stepped forward and asked to do that. So that's in the process. They also gave us some other ideas on some things they'd be willing to look at or have the town board look at in terms of agricultural issues.
And I think that was key word there, and I think you all heard that. Everything here is voluntary. These are things that we're asking to do for the farmers in the town and whatever. This is nothing that we're going to force upon anybody. That's why we have so many different tools. I spoke to one property owner up there who thought that he would like his property commercial. That could be a way to go. There's other farmers that may just want other ways of making ends meet. Some farmers may be interested in purchase of development rights and other tools that are out there. So we're trying
that's where we are, and as I say, I will be issuing a memo summarizing the Grissom Air Base compatible use plan, just to give you an idea of what these plans look at, and some of it might be applicable to Niagara, some may not, but just give you an idea of just how extensive they can be. Yep. Any questions? Yeah?
You had said once the 6th town comes in, you probably have to hire a consultant on the road. Will that be paid for by
Yes.
the federal government?
Federal government, yes.
Yes. The federal government, it's 100%
Yeah.
grant, I believe.
Yeah.
Pays for the whole thing.
It does come down to purchasing the rights from the farm. Will that be paid for by the
No, that's a little more complicated. That could be federal money.
Right.
It could also be state money.
What we're looking at, and we heard loud and clear from when we started this 3-4 years ago, is that any of those programs, for example, the state's program is 75-25. We heard loud and clear that the town of Wheatfield is not going to stand for and put 25% of that money up, that it would have to be a bunch of different sources of money to do that. If that's the way we're going. Again, PDRs are very, very competitive. If you were to get one, you could probably get one. But they're also, we also researched this other program from the federal government. We thought maybe we can mix grants too with that. So, good question. We're not looking to spend the town's money. We're trying to come up with ways to accomplish this.
And that's what the Western New York Land Conservancy is doing, is trying to calculate just how competitive the lands, the 2 farmers' lands would be for those competitive grants in New York State. We don't know that yet, but it is very competitive, and part of the process is just doing a rating, an evaluation system that the state has to determine, do the lands qualify for state funding.
Carl, what is the community we're still holding out for? Is it town of Niagara?
No, Niagara passed theirs last week.
Good.
The town of Cambria. They have a new board coming in, and they would like to wait until January when that new board is seated.
Town of Niagara did commit then?
Yes,
Great.
last week they passed a resolution. So
thank you.
We have Wheatfield, Niagara, Pendleton, Lewiston, and City of Niagara Falls. 5. So we'll keep you posted, and as I say, we've got a lot of things going, and I think the next step will be to pursue this funding for the compatible use plan. The earliest we could probably do that would be submitting an application in the last quarter of this year. That's the timing, but we'll work closely with the base officials to meet all the requirements for submitting a
Last quarter of this
good
coming year.
That's correct.
Not this year.
Yeah, that's right, the last quarter of 2020.
Anybody else have questions? Thank you for your
Good, thank you.
presentation. Drew, I hope you feel better.
Thank you very much.
And have a Merry Christmas, both.
Thank
I
you.
had
Merry
one
Christmas,
question,
too.
sorry, I was a little slow to the trigger there. So the ag business district, is that something that somebody's asking for, or is that just an idea?
The ag zoning is an idea that came up, because I've done this in other communities. I've asked the farmers, farmers, if they want to continue to farm, they say, I got to find other ways of making ends meet. Are there ways you can add other uses that don't impact other people to allow the farmer to make ends meet? One of the things you're looking at, I think your code addresses it okay, but agritourism is huge now, and they want to make sure, and, Cambria dealt with the issue of the wineries, and also with the,
Sunflowers?
the sunflower facility and whatever, looking at ways of farmers making the ends meet. So we'd like to continue to talk to the farmers in the future about, hey, what are your ideas? What are the things that you want in these things that we may do? Are you interested in purchase development rights? Or are you interested in other things? We want to see those farmers be successful there. I mean, we always heard farmers loud and clear, let us be. Don't overregulate us. We're not trying to overregulate them.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, gents. Appreciate it. Have a good Christmas.
If you have any other questions, please
Christmas.
contact Carl or I.
Thank you.